Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stephen and Kori. I'm Stephen
And I'm Kori.
all right,
Welcome to our show. Get it together. Together.
together, right? Hey, it
Together.
takes two.
Takes two
You
to
got to do something
tango.
together. You got to have two people,
That's
right?
right. Yes. We said before, two heads are better than one, but we also know a two-headed animal is a monster.
That's
So
right.
we have to make sure that you balance the two heads.
Exactly.
Today, our topic is a part two, you
Part
guys.
two.
Yes. So we did, if they didn't see episode 6, they need to, well, I guess you don't have to go back and see it, but it would be
Well,
nice to
actually, you
see it.
should go back and see it because this thing is moving pretty fast, folks. I mean, season one, this is episode seven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seven already.
And in this episode, we as the relationship gurus get to talk about navigating changes in household roles
Right.
and responsibilities, redefining household duties and sharing responsibilities equitably.
Exactly.
That is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Especially as you guys know, we've been talking about post-pandemic and not every episode, but we have been asked questions from our panel of people who ask us questions. Could you talk about this? And why don't you talk about that? And, there's probably people out there that need this help. And that redefining the roles and the responsibilities changes post-pandemic.
Right.
A lot of things have changed.
I mean, if you really want to cut to the chase, it's about what everybody's doing. Okay. How much work she's doing? How much work am I doing? How much work are maybe the kids doing? Who's doing what in this house? That's what it's about, right?
That's right. That's true. And role reversals.
Role reversals.
There's a lot of people who are working from home now that weren't, and
Exactly.
they probably didn't even know where to find the cornflakes. So now it's like, where are the cereal bowls?
That sounds
know?
like me.
Yeah, that does sound like him.
Hey, where's this at? Where's that
That's
at?
yeah, yeah. He doesn't even know light switches. Where's
Mhm.
turn on that light? Okay, honey, it's right there. Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's okay because you've got the buffer. You got me, and somebody's got somebody else. But when you are in a different role, a lot of mind games
Yeah.
happen, a lot of
Absolutely.
changes happen. And we're going to go into our stats and facts in a moment. But I got to tell you something. We did the stats and facts, and we have a team. And sometimes our team does stats and facts, and sometimes we do. And it was pretty interesting. We chose to do it, and we chose to use one
One source.
source of information. And man, this is a blow out, and move on conversation
Yeah.
because there's a lot of unknowns when you're
Well,
taking on a new role in your home and responsibility.
but again, it's personal. I mean, it's very personal. It can be emotional as well because, you might have a perspective of how you think things are. I have a perspective of how I think things are.
Yeah.
But if we don't communicate it,
Oh, yeah.
that's the key. We got to communicate it because this thing is
I fold the towels in threes and you only fold them in half. How do you think all those towels are going to fit in there if you're only folding them in half? Little things like that. It's like, I
yeah.
don't like my toilet paper rolled in this way. I like to put on that way.
And really, folks, if you're being honest, it's kind of nonsense.
It is, but it's something you're used to.
That's right.
I can remember when I go over to people's homes, if you've ever had me over, if I have my own bathroom, I'm going to change the toilet paper roll because I like it a certain way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's not even a role or a responsibility. However, if you're cleaning the house and you weren't doing it before, it is,
Yeah. Right.
and other things. If you're picking up the kids from school and you never did that before, and the kids go, Mom, Daddy always picks us up over here. I don't care. Walk your behind over here. I'm picking you up over here. So you just things change.
It's true. And, it seems like maybe it could be a little bit academic, really, when you
Mhm.
talk about different roles and who does what. But again, this is a big deal in some
Oh,
couples.
absolutely.
I actually think we're kind of blessed because we sort of did more traditional roles.
Well, we
It's
took on our roles. We voluntarily took them on. No one said you have to do this or you have to do that. And so we were fortunate that I said I want to do this.
that's right.
Now, you guys, I'm a cleanophobe. I'm not OCD. I'm just OC. No, but I like
She's very symmetrical.
I
Also,
am.
I love
am.
that.
And everything has to line up and everything has to be cleaned and dusted and polished. And so I was never going to hand that over to you. Yeah,
Yes.
as much as you could,
Thank
no,
God.
as much as you could do those things. Now, cooking, you used to cook.
Yeah.
You used to really cook because I couldn't cook. I couldn't cook.
That's changed.
That has changed. I'm a great cook now,
Yeah.
and he won't even pick up a spoon and stir a soup.
Don't want
So
it.
yeah, yeah. What are we having for dinner tonight, honey? I don't know. What do you want? Oh, do you want me to go out and get something? No, I'm asking. What are you going to make? Yeah. So anyway, there's a couple of topics that we like to talk about regarding this role reversal and this new phase that we're all in, taking on different challenges.
Well,
Um,
we said actually in episode 6 that
Mhm.
that was going to be a little bit more explosive, but this one we think could has the potential to be, because again, when you superimpose each mindset upon these traditional roles, it could really blow up
Oh,
if you're
absolutely.
not careful.
Absolutely. Think about this, when you have, children involved and the roles have changed, you never know what those kids are saying to the other parent, "Daddy lets me do this. Daddy lets you do Hey, daddy, do you let her do?" "No, I've never let her do that." Or, "She said you." I mean, you gotta watch those kids because they can get in the between and try to maneuver their desires into what the real role is because they know mama would have never let this happen.
Right. It's also easy, I think, too, for one spouse maybe to feel like they're doing more than the other spouse.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
sometimes
Mhm.
it's true, but
Mhm.
maybe more often than not, it's just a thought. But that creates a negative energy though in the home. Is your
Mhm.
home your sanctuary, or is this battleground
Or your
where
prison.
everybody's,
Mhm.
keeping score about what, who's doing what?
Yeah, and the stress is at home. I mean,
Right.
if you're homeschooling now and you never did, because of the pandemic, all of a sudden now you're homeschooling. Do you still do the laundry and you still go get the groceries and you still go, do everything else, fill the gas tank? Or do you hand that off to your spouse? Because
Right.
you are actually a school teacher now. You're
Sure.
just teaching in the home. And that is a huge role. And maybe the two spouses take it upon themselves that we know couples who have homeschooled, we homeschooled. And there were times where you gave a test or you checked the paperwork because that was the other side of teaching.
Sure.
So those are areas that children can now see. Hey, I can be anything. I can do anything I want. I'm looking at dad doing things that mom used to do. I'm looking at mom doing things that dad used to do.
That's role reversal.
That is, and it causes it can be a benefit for the children to see. Hey, there's no um, there's no set agenda for any household that has to do this or that.
Right.
It's whatever I choose to do.
Sure.
So one of the things that we talked about was when we were putting this together, the role that Stephen had with the girls. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later on, but Stephen would braid their hair.
Oh yeah. I knew how to
Yeah.
braid.
You knew how to braid. Bravo. Yes, you did.
Yes.
And that was impressive to me. I'm like, oh, their hair's done. And I wasn't looking at, well, it's not that great. It was fine. The girls were happy that daddy did their hair. And
Look,
I
I
was,
made some really good
you
braiding.
did. You did.
I may not have any hair and I may not be able to do mine, but I could do theirs.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So
And because of that, it freed me up,
yeah.
and it
Oh
was
yeah.
fun for you to bond with the girls too.
Sure.
And sometimes we hold on to those roles so much that you can strain a
Oh
relationship.
yeah.
It's like, I do that, you don't do that, I do that. And that's not a good thing either.
Sure. Let's get into some by the numbers here.
Okay. You
All
want to get
right.
into stats and facts?
Sure.
Okay.
The
Sure.
first
Go
one
ahead.
here, I'm going to go, and this, by the way, is through Pew Research.
Yeah.
Um,
All the information we're giving you is from Pew Research. Yeah. Go ahead.
so Pew Research Center did an analysis in 2020 and they did a survey, and they found that many of the dynamics between couples actually haven't changed much during the pandemic.
Mm,
So again, it didn't shift as much as people may have thought it did.
mhm.
But the good news is that fathers, 46% of fathers are now more likely to say that they spend the right amount of time with their children versus before the pandemic.
Okay. So this is a interesting.
Pandemic, I guess, gave them more time
But
to.
what's the right amount? The right amount. I spend the right amount. Well, what does that mean? Is that 5 hours? Is that a half hour? Fathers, yeah, I do it. I do my duty.
Right,
So
right.
we don't know what that is, but at least they feel like they do. And maybe the children do also. We hope that's how it is. Yeah.
Sure,
Mm.
absolutely. And it says here 59% of women say they do more household chores than their spouse.
Yeah. Hello. That's
Guys, do you think that's true?
of course that's an obvious.
Ladies and gentlemen, if
Come
you're
on.
listening to this, I'd like you guys to vote on this. I mean,
Yeah.
how many of you women out there that are listening, how many of you guys out here think that your wives do more than you do? And wives, how many do you think that you do more than your husband? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, 46% of men say that the household responsibilities, meaning chores, the budget, errands, and so forth, guys say 46% of guys say that is shared equally.
That's not true. That's no way. I can tell you right now, most women are running around the house like, what's that movie, The Incredibles?
The
If
Incredibles,
you've
yeah, I
ever
remember
seen
that
that
one.
that Disney movie, The Incredibles, it's
That's a good one.
hilarious. There's
Yeah.
there's a kid that's named Jack Jack, and there's a kid that's named Dash, and there's a daughter that's named I
This is a
think it's
really good
violet.
example.
And I'm telling you, those 3 are the results. When I see that, I see a couple. I see a household. You got Dash, who's running all over the place
All
really
over.
fast. That's
Oh,
the mom.
like
The
knocking it
mom is
out.
going everywhere. And then you got Jack, who's the mom who gets ticked off because the father's not doing anything, and they blow up, And then
And the father's a big
You've
dude
got
too.
Violet, who is not even there. When things go rough, she just disappears. That's the father. And I'm not saying in all cases, but when we look at these stats, let me see one of these stats. It says, okay, when it says good news is fathers 46% are now more likely to say that they spend the right amount of time with their children versus before the pandemic. 48% say they spend too little time with their kids. So 46 say they spend the right amount, 48, you didn't read that part. 48% say they spend too little. 59% of women say they do more household chores than their spouse. 6% say their spouse does more. That's that dash. I'm doing all the household chores. And then I love this one. I love this one. This one we picked out. Here we go. 46% of men say the household responsibilities are shared about equally,
That's right. So I said earlier.
while 34% say their spouse does more. We know 46, that's not even half. So they know men know, and what's that mean equally? Like equally would be, well, she does 5 and I do 2.
Right.
And I'm only saying this, you guys. I don't want any, well, I don't care. Give me the comments. Go ahead. Give them to me. Because
Watch out.
we are life coaches,
Watch out.
and we've been in ministry for 30 something years. We have spoken to many couples, and there's few and far between husbands who say, I do most of the chores and household responsibilities. They say, I go out, I work, I kill it, and I bring it back. However, since the pandemic, they're like, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't believe she does all this. How does she find time to do
That's
all this
true.
stuff?
That's very true.
And the women are like, bravo, that's right. I am a goddess. Yeah, because I can do it all. Right? It's true. So here we go. Answer, I am a goddess. Am I not a goddess?
I think so.
Yeah, no. Am I not a
Yes,
goddess? Yes,
ma'am.
I am. Okay. 74, 40 years married.
Yeah.
74%, that's 3/4 of mothers say they do more to manage their children's schedule and activities than their spouse. A whopping 3% of their husbands say that they do more than they should. So 3%, 74%, that's 3/4 of mothers say they do more to manage their children's
Well,
schedule.
and I'm going to put a plug in here. All right. So I'm going to say this. And by the way, all the ladies, if you want, you can go ahead and, give me a shout out right now because I'm going to give you a shout out. I do believe, I've often said to Kori, I think her job has really been way more difficult than mine. At the same time, as a result of the pandemic, I think there's many wives that have gone back out into the
Yeah,
workforce,
yeah.
right? So what happens is if mom has gone back into the workforce as well, and she's working as much as dad now, it's not fair that mom still has to come home and do all the things that she was doing before all by herself. So guys, we do need to step it up, some of us in
Because
this
that would make a
case.
Jack.
Yeah,
That would make a
absolutely.
Jack, truly. And you'll get exhausted. When do you have time with your spouse? Do you even want time with your spouse if your spouse isn't, pulling up their end of the deal and helping where they didn't know how
Yeah,
before? Now, granted, you're going to have to ask for help to help. Like, how do you do this? Is there a certain way that you like, things to be done? And that goes both ways.
right.
Maybe the wife is going out there doing things that she's never done before. And she's like, okay. And here's the other thing, health issues
Sure.
from the pandemic. You might have gotten extremely sick during the pandemic and you can't physically do the things you used to do. And now the responsibility is on your spouse. So you have to be tender about that too, very
Right.
sensitive to that.
Right.
You got another study?
Well, I was
Yeah.
beyond the study,
Oh,
I was just gonna say that there's gotta be a shared interest here. We have
mhm.
to also keep in mind we're on the same team,
Yeah.
right? And everybody has to be able to pitch in and do a little bit here and there,
Mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
So for us, this is one of those situations that impacted us, but I actually think we've been pretty blessed in this area overall. We've never really kept score except whenever she felt overwhelmed, then she started keeping
How
score.
do you do that? I need to talk like that. How do you do that?
I just need to talk a little bit more close to
Clear.
the mic, right? Because
Now, hold
it
on,
was funny, whenever Corey would become overwhelmed, that's when she would start to keep score.
Yeah. Now, there was a time when you traveled so much, I did have to take that mantle on.
Sure.
So we did have to switch roles. And you guys, if you watch a previous show, you'll see on one of our other shows how we talk about I had to keep being over in charge of everything, and then he would come back from travels for business, and then he was in charge of everything, and that is difficult because it's a constant role reversal.
However, the other blessing, I would say, I see it's a blessing,
Mhm.
okay? You didn't even realize how much you wanted to be a homemaker. That
Yeah, I didn't.
that was a career, in
Mhm,
fact, is a career
mhm.
to you. And even now, I mean, though we're empty nesters, it's interesting how parenting continues and
Oh my gosh.
there's still roles,
Yes.
okay,
Your
right?
kids still need you.
Speak to that,
Yeah, yeah. No,
you
no.
know?
Yeah,
Seriously, I
it's
mean,
exhausting. Your kids as adults still need you, but
yeah,
we're gonna do a show actually on how to bring your children into a relationship with you as a friend,
right,
so that they can rely on you as their best friend.
sure,
And you want that. You want them to be able to share everything with you so that they know who you are because you're going to share with them. So, in that role reversal uh, portion of learning how to take on the mantle of this, like for me, the stay at home mom, I'm still staying at home. Now, granted, we have our business, our life coaching business,
right,
but I'm still available.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I also think that for those of you who are married and one of you, takes on the homemaking role or
Hmm.
takes on the role of managing the household, whoever's out there in the field working, it actually gives them a little bit more
Oh,
ability to focus,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
on that without worrying about those
Safety,
things.
less
Yeah,
concern about what's going on at home. Yeah.
sure.
Well, I gotta tell you, there was I gotta tell you, there was a time where I did the primary chores and Stephen did the things that were primary outside. Now, Stephen, he says he does not like to do work, but housework and yard work and stuff. But I gotta tell you, you were phenomenal. I mean, he doesn't do it now, but he would get the edger out there and he'd cut the grass. And I can remember there were times I'm gonna cut the grass for Stephen, and I cut the grass and you go, the line's crooked. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. or
Hey, if you're gonna do it right.
I never edged. I would never edge, but even cutting the grass, that was his role, and he was focused on it. Had all the tools and everything. We call him Mister Extra. Whenever he needs something, he buys more than he needs. And so,
Abundance.
but I got to tell you, our neighborhood loved it. They're like, your yard looks so great, and you took pride in that.
Sure.
No, I never knew you didn't like it.
Yeah.
I
Mm-mm.
I knew you're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. I don't like any chores, being honest. I don't like any chores. Being transparent,
Yeah,
I don't like any chores
yeah,
at
yeah.
all. Right. I'd rather just make the money and then we can pay for somebody to do these things. Hey, I wouldn't change a light bulb if I didn't have to. But
Yeah. Well, one of the chores or the task or the
oh, excuse
responsibilities
me.
that
By the way, I
oh,
don't feel guilty about that. I used to, but I
no,
realized I don't like to do those things.
no, you shouldn't
So
feel guilty.
I'd be
One of
riding
the
my motorcycle or something.
ooh, one of the tasks that we actually did a role reversal on was the budget.
Yes.
You wanna talk to them about how that happened?
Well, just I mean, we discussed that I think in episode number 2, but again, there's a role reversal here and that was really dynamic, and that
Mhm.
is, I mean, she knows everything right now about the budget. I know the big number, right? What
Yeah.
that total is,
Mhm.
but all the nitty-gritty granular details about what happens in this house on a monthly basis, she's got it, she controls it. Never used to do that, but
Yeah.
now she owns it and all of it.
One of
Thank
the
you.
You're welcome. Thank you for, showing me how to do that.
Sure.
One of the things that when you do take on a role that your spouse did previously had, the beautiful thing that you can see in that is, "Man, they really had this nailed," or, "How can I improve on this?"
Right.
Or how and also spouse who used to have it, edify, like you edify me on doing the budget because you know what it took to do it,
Oh,
and now I
absolutely.
do it. And when you're in a situation like that, you want to edify your spouse and say, "Thank you so much for taking this on," whatever it is.
Right.
Whether it's meal planning or taking the kids in all their different functions that they go to. That's a big thing, a big release for the other spouse, and it
Absolutely.
helps you see both sides of the coin.
Sure, absolutely. One of the things I think is that you have to have fun with these kind of things. You have to have fun with this, okay? And do some planning. I mean, hey, in your jobs and your roles at work, you have managerial skills.
Mhm.
Hey, some of those things are directly transferable to your home. We don't have to lock it up in this area, but I have a
True.
feeling there's a conflict sometimes in homes regarding these kind of
I don't
things.
know. We don't wanna find out?
Sure.
We have this section called the questions and
Oh yeah.
answers.
Yeah, there's
So,
people have probably sent some questions
yeah,
about that,
yeah,
right?
actually, and you guys, if you have questions or comments, please, comment below and make sure you like this too. We've been telling you to share it, but like it too.
Yeah,
Share it
absolutely.
with other people, but we're gonna go into our question box right now and find out what kind of questions are regarding household responsibilities and changing since, oh, I picked up, oh no, this is a big long one. Okay. All right. Hmm.
What you got?
Should we be distributing duties and roles based on our strengths or based on what we are most comfortable with, what we actually want to do?
My vote is that you focus on your strengths, because if you have the strength to do it and you enjoy doing it, why let your spouse struggle if they don't?
But what happens if they don't enjoy doing it, but it's their strength? Because should we be distributing duties and roles based on our strengths or based on what we most comfortable with, what we actually want to do?
My vote again is based on your strength.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I know, I agree because whether you're comfortable or if you suck at it, it's like, I'm really comfortable at screwing up the budget. Well, great, that's nice, but we need somebody who's strong, like,
Yeah,
So yeah, if that's your strength, you really want to flow in your gifts and in your purpose. Your purpose in your marriage is to let your gifts come through and cause that marriage to be easier to flow in.
that's right.
So if you're gifted in an area, that's usually your strength, then flow in that strength and that gift so you can bring something to
That's good.
the household and to the marriage to cause the other partner not to have to feel so stressed themselves.
Sure.
So that's what I would say on that.
That's good. I'll get
What you
one.
got?
Let's see here.
I love this part.
Well, me too, because it's coming directly from you
I
guys.
know.
All right. So
That's
here
a
we go.
long one. Okay.
This is a big one. I have never been a homemaker. I became an unofficial stay at home spouse during the pandemic because I lost my job and had a hard time finding work. I'm miserable. Well, thank you for being transparent.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. My spouse has come to rely on me being our home base though. How do you transition without ripping the Oh, shoot.
What? No.
How do you transition without ripping the rug from under my partner? Is it okay that I feel like this? There's a lot here. This is very
There
emotional.
is. So I've never been a homemaker. I
What
became
why
an
don't you
unofficial
deconstruct that?
stay-at-home
You're better
spouse
at this.
during the pandemic, but because I lost my job and I've had a hard time finding work. Okay, well, I'm miserable. My
First of all,
partner
it's
has
good to
come to
acknowledge
rely on
that.
me being our home base, though. So maybe you can work from your home. That way you are working and you are at home. And even though you are miserable being at home,
But is that a symptom? Them being miserable is a symptom of something deeper, isn't it?
well, I think she or he, it says spouse, it could be a he. Um, Maybe they're miserable because they're just sitting at home, not doing anything. Because a homemaker, I'm not saying homemakers don't do anything. I do a lot of things as a homemaker, but maybe this particular person doesn't feel like it's enough.
Sure.
So if that's the case, then you know what? Find a career that you can do a home-based business.
But there's a lot to do in a home. Maybe this person's not fully engaging
Engaging,
in what
yeah.
what has to be done in the home. There's a tremendous amount of things to be done in home.
There is a yeah, you're right. Home is a business. Again, from what this looks like, it just to me it looks like they're miserable because they are a homemaker. So maybe they don't like doing the things that are at home. So if that be the case, work from home and maybe hire a
Higher.
housekeeper or
Oh yeah,
something to take care of
absolutely.
all those other things
It's good.
that are in the home that you don't like doing. Or here's the other thing, work from home. And when you and your spouse are together, divvy up the things that a homemaker does that you don't want to do,
That's good.
because there has to be harmony there.
Right.
And if that be the case and you're used to having a job and you lost your job, find something that you can do from home until that spouse is ready to say, "Hey, you know what? We got this at home." I was maybe the spouse was insecure saying, "We need somebody to stay at home and take care of stuff."
Right.
So in that case, get yourself ready to launch back into the industry that you were in if it still exists.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
big
because
if.
some industries fell apart from the
Sure.
pandemic. So if
Absolutely.
it still exists, but from that point, work from home.
Right. It's
You like
good.
that? I
Yeah.
like that.
Grab another one.
Okay. Let's see what we
These are
have
very
next.
real issues. We thank you guys
Yeah.
for sending these
You
in.
see, they're not easy. We're not trying to, we're picking these based upon what you've sent in and we just have them cut up and then we toss them in. Okay, here we go. I'm in a creative field with variable income. And this sounds like me. And I feel guilty that I don't contribute as much as our finances as my partner does. They don't do anything to make me feel this way, but I don't feel like the loads are equal. How do I release that? Okay. So you just heard I was a stay at home mom and I always had these side jobs.
But you're a life
Um,
coach now.
I'm a life coach now, but I'm saying before when I before our this, we were in ministry and then I had all these side jobs. That's what I did to contribute. So this person is saying that
Yeah.
they are creative and they're in a creative field with a variable income. I get that. So that's okay. If you feel guilty that you don't contribute financially equally, money is just money. You can contribute so many other
It's
ways.
true.
Money is just a form of trade
Value in the market.
yeah, value in the marketplace. Services you trade money for. So if that be the case, it's okay. Do some other things that you will bring value to your household
Right.
and be creative in what you do. And that variable income, again, it's needed. Just because it's not consistent doesn't mean it's not needed.
Sure.
So celebrate when you have something to bring financially, but also celebrate your gifts. You're creative. So celebrate the other things you bring into the household. Would you not agree with that?
100%.
You know? So, yeah.
100% agree. And I think, again, we talked about the emotion of this, and this is, these feelings are really viable.
Oh, that's it.
And so, again, you got to have fun with these things.
Yeah,
This is a journey.
it
It
is.
is a
Yeah.
journey,
And
right?
and we say you have fun, but find the humor in certain things.
Like it. That's right.
There are times that we're sitting there looking at each other thinking, "We're gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you, and you're gonna kill me." And then we just start laughing because we're like, "We're not capable of killing each other."
Yeah.
You have to find the humor in, "Wow, I can't believe, you're doing this in our household, and I'm doing this now." And edify, edify, edify. Communication, sex, and money. This is about the communication of what our roles really should be.
And I would suggest complimenting each other too, because if you see something that your spouse has done in the home, if you recognize it, compliment them.
Mhm.
Everybody likes a compliment.
Yeah.
Everyone likes a pat on the back. I know Kori likes flowers. I mean, she loves flowers. Whenever I see fresh flowers in our home, regardless where she got them from, or if I buy flowers for her,
Mhm.
if they're nice, she'll compliment, and if I
Mhm.
see them, I'll compliment to
Mhm.
her.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one of those things that complement each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So
So this concludes our show. I just want to explain to you guys that as we're going through each episode, we're talking about real issues and we're trying to be as real and open with how we handle things. Not to say they're always the right way to do it, but we've learned, and if we can help you not stump your foot against the rock like we did, better for you. Or there are times that we love to hear your
right,
your opinions so that we can learn too. We know people who've been married way longer than 40 years and we're learning from them. So
right.
we hope that this brings you benefit.
That's one of our major objectives and our mission here
Yeah.
is to bring life and hope
Yeah.
to you, to help you understand when you get it together, you can
Oh,
make it.
yeah.
So until next time, get it together.
We will see you on the next episode.